I think I can look. I just look at Craig's face. He wants to rant. I could tell. Well, hey, good news. I don't think y'all. I think y'all stopped looking at Harbaugh. I know you were talking about that last week.
Harbaugh didn't bother me as a coach. It's just, I don't know. I didn't really care if he was the coach or not. He likes to run the ball. That's what they needed. I mean, that's what they've been trying to do. So they just don't have a quarterback. So I mean, if they had a quarterback there, it might be something different.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a crazy market out there. I've been hearing some stuff, but we'll probably talk about that next week. We're gonna do a quarterback carousel. I think it's gonna be some surprise. I think I've just been hearing some stuff like some surprises that you'd be surprised. And, Aaron Rodgers might get traded. Lamar. I've just been hearing some things floating around. Tom Brady could end up in Miami. It's just things I've been hearing, man. You know what I'm saying? So, which sucks because, Tua.
I mean, that's crazy though. Do you do that to get Tom Brady for 1 year? It's not like Tom Brady's a long. You have to feel like you can win right now in 1 year because he's not staying for 2-3 years. Like,
I don't know. He wanted to go there, and then I don't know if Tua's going to retire, man. I don't know. It's going to be something that Tua has to consider in the offseason. Because he had concussions like back to back, and players. Greg Jennings said that Brian Westbrook, the running back, had to retire because of concussions like that. So I don't know. Miami might be in the market for a quarterback, but we'll get to that next week. I think it's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. All right, but what's going on, guys? How's everybody's week? Was it good?
It was cool, busy, but cool.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, my week I'm back in the gym, so I'm just struggling. Struggling, but I'll be all right though. I'll be all right. I'm trying to get like how I was in Texas Roadhouse, Corey. A little bit. I saw a picture. I was like, what? Look at that guy. I'm just trying to I just want to be healthy, that's all. You know what I'm saying? So anyway. Yeah, Corey, we're going to start off with you. We're going to do the team recaps, right? So I want you being a diehard Colts fan. You're from the area. You went to college there.
Yep.
I want you to tell us how your team did. Who do you want? How was your overall season? What's your thoughts? Who would you like as head coach? And who do you want them to draft? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's say you were able to get any quarterback at this year's draft. You have the first overall pick. Let's just say that. I just want to, because anything's possible. Chicago has it, so. It's anybody.
Yeah. Chicago's head coach was our defensive coordinator. He is familiar with our roster.
Mm-hmm.
It could happen. As for how the season went, it turned out to be quite a dumpster fire. I know all of us penciled them in to win the AFC South because they had the best roster in the division. Tennessee regressed, and the Texans and Jaguars just for the Texans and Jaguars. I even thought that they could make a Super Bowl run.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. I don't think I have ever been as wrong about anything in my life as I was about how much Matt Ryan had left in the tank. I'll start there. He was done. I know his play had declined each of the last 3 seasons in Atlanta, but I thought that could be explained away by a roster devoid of talent and a first-time head coach.
You weren't the only one wrong, Corey. It was a lot of people.
There were. It doesn't make this season any more excruciating or any less excruciating, but look, what transpired in the 2022 season started in 2019 with the abrupt retirement of Andrew Luck. This franchise has been trying to dig their way out of that hole ever since. Because the rest of the roster has talent. They've tried to band-aid the quarterback position to make runs. And I mean, one of the most frustrating parts of this season was that one of their best players in Shaq Leonard essentially missed the season. And this defense was still worthy of making a deep playoff run. It was extremely good. I think Grover Stewart probably should have been the all-pro at nose tackle. I know Dexter Lawrence is in New York, but Grover Stewart had that caliber of season. It just got buried on a bad Colts team.
Yeah.
But the quarterback position and their offense failed that defense miserably. After reading a few articles by indie writers like Zach Kiefer and Bob Kravitz from The Athletic, I think behind the scenes, this team was doomed from the start this year. I am convinced Frank Reich had lost the support of the locker room after the Wentz fiasco. Not the entire locker room, but chunks of it. There are guys that quoted anonymously, but guys that did talk to those reporters and said they felt Reich didn't hold his best players accountable and refused to criticize them in front of the team. And they knocked him for it. And I think that came to a head with Carson Wentz and the fact that Wentz was clearly struggling. The Colts play calling at the end of last year clearly said they did not trust putting the football in Carson Wentz's hands. And apparently Reich was unwilling to call him out and try and hold him accountable in front of other players. Reich convinced Jim Irsay to trade for Carson Wentz instead of drafting a quarterback in 2021. While they had zero shot at Lawrence or Wilson, those were going 1 and 2. I think they probably end up with Fields or Mac Jones without the Carson Wentz trade. And that decision ended up losing Jim Irsay's trust in Frank Reich. Did not trust him at all after that season. In the 2021 draft, realistically, is the only draft since Luck retired that the Colts had a shot at drafting someone. Because the year before, Tua, Herbert, the Colts had the 13th pick, but they were never getting ahead of the Dolphins or Chargers for a quarterback. Not in a million years.
Yeah.
So, Reich convinces them to trade for Wentz. It blows up in their face. And so when the team stumbled out of the gates again this season and then had really embarrassing losses to the Jaguars and the Patriots, Irsay was done, fired Reich. And while honestly, I do hate to see him go, I hope he gets another job. I think Carolina's a great place for him, honestly, because I think he's a really good offensive mind and would be really good working with a young quarterback. I understand why he got fired. It made sense. I still can't say I understand the Jeff Saturday decision, though. It's especially today, the Colts interviewed Bubba Ventrone for their head coaching job, a guy that has been on the radar as a future head coach. He will be a head coach in the NFL sometime in the next 5 years. And you think enough of him to interview him. So why didn't you give him the chance? It seems like a really wasted opportunity. Jeff Saturday talks like he wants the full-time job, but I said that the team clearly got worse once he took over. I saw some quotes from players talking about how they liked how he held guys accountable in front of the team and would not be afraid to call people out. He would chew people out. He would chew starters out. But then if you listen to Jeff Saturday's end of season press conference, he was making excuses for why the team got worse under his coaching, threw the assistants that were on the staff under the bus, essentially said they're all to blame for why we lost 7 games in a row, not me. And there wasn't a whole lot of accountability for himself there. So Colts are at a crossroads. If Irsay goes back to letting Chris Ballard do his job, then I think the Colts have a pretty attractive job opening. They've got good skill position talent with receivers like Pittman, Pierce, Campbell, who he's a free agent, but I think they can sign him back. Jonathan Taylor is arguably the best running back in the NFL. Jelani Woods flashed as a young tight end.
Okay, good.
I think the offensive line can bounce back next year. They've got a defense that should still be good. And they're in a bad division. So a coach that comes in and gets a first-round quarterback can immediately make a playoff run with this roster. But I think the first question, for me, the first question was, does Chris Ballard stay?
He had a good press conference.
Yeah, after listening to that, he is staying.
I like
although
him.
I will say,
don't let him.
There was one thing that stood out to me that was interesting. He was asked if he had ever thought about leaving his job with the Colts. And
what did he say?
He said no. But there was a very long pause, like 10 to 15 second long pause before he said no. And to me, I interpreted his response as, yes, I thought about it, but there are only 32 of these jobs and I'm not guaranteed another.
Yeah, I don't.
And while I think that's kind of crazy because Ballard would get a job immediately if he wanted one.
Yeah.
I do think he lied there, and I think he did consider quitting after the whole Jeff Saturday fiasco.
Yeah.
But some of it, he was also making some of the same excuses for Saturday that Saturday was making for himself, which makes me a little nervous that Jim Irsay may actually go ahead with hiring Jeff Saturday full time.
That's gonna be crazy.
So if Irsay, like, Ballard's in charge of the coaching search, but if Irsay dictates it's going to be Saturday,
he has no control over that.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily blame Ballard if he wouldn't want to stick around then. I assume a phone call is going to be made to Jim Harbaugh. As I sent the group chat, there's talk that Harbaugh could come at $20 million a year.
It's
a lot.
It's a lot.
Irsay's never been one to shy away from spending money, though. He hands out $100 bills to random people at training camp every year. So,
yeah.
I'll say if what will likely happen does, and Baltimore gets ran off the field in their playoff game because they're potentially starting Anthony Brown, and the Ravens decide to fire John Harbaugh, sign me up.
He'll be sought after.
I've seen Leslie Frazier's name thrown out there, but that is a hard pass for me. You
want like offensive minded?
I would, with them drafting a quarterback at the top, I think they should go offensive minded. But also, if the issues with the team were, or Frank Reich not willing to hold people accountable, not being fiery enough, Leslie Frazier's not that guy. I think if they go defensively, I think you got to go a young guy in either D'Amico Ryans or Jonathan Gannon. I did see somebody made a really good
who?
Gannon, the DC in Philadelphia.
Okay.
I think Gannon would be good because he was on Frank Reich's staff in Indianapolis. He knows the building. He knows the front office. He would get along with them. And he was a guy that when Sirianni took him with him to Philadelphia, it got mentioned by a lot of people. Like, he was very well liked and respected on the Colts coaching staff.
And Shane, would you like Shane? I cannot pronounce his name. The Philadelphia's
Strain.
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce it. Yeah. I think he's done a good job calling plays. I think he's done I know they requested an interview with him. I would be surprised if that happened since Sirianni is off the right coaching tree.
Okay. I got it.
Ben Johnson in Detroit's another interesting one.
Yeah.
I've seen some talk that he will interview very well. Comes across a bit similarly to Campbell in Detroit. I will say I've seen a lot of talk of guys, people throwing out there that you don't hire for X's and O's. You hire for a head coach is supposed to like guide the team, so you need a guy that can like motivate your roster. But I think you got to have somebody that can provide something in the X's and O's. And I don't know what Jeff Saturday brings to the table there. I don't know what kind of staff he could put together. More importantly, so honestly, I say go with a new guy. I don't want to retread unless you're getting a Harbaugh, one of the two.
Yeah.
I think Ben Johnson is possibly my top candidates. It was really impressive what he did in Detroit this year with that offense. And I think giving him the chance to mold a quarterback would be interesting. Now, as for the quarterback position itself, I mean, I think the Colts have a really good shot at the number one pick. They're at number 4, so Chicago would only be falling backwards 3 spots.
Yep. It's possible.
I think the Colts could throw in a player like a Shaq Leonard or a Zaire Franklin or Kenny Moore or any combination of starter caliber defensive players that Matt Eberflus is a huge fan of, combined with a couple of draft picks.
And Shaq Leonard fits his system.
And Chicago just traded. They have a giant hole in the middle of their defense at middle linebacker. Leonard is making less than what Baltimore ended up giving Roquan Smith. I think Shaq Leonard is better than Roquan Smith. And I think he could help tie together that Chicago defense because they're going to have a ton of cap space to go with it. So they got to spend it somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think if you're the Colts, you trade Shaq Leonard, you re-sign Bobby Okereke, and you have Franklin and Okereke as your starting linebackers next year. And they were a pretty solid pairing this year.
What quarterback? Let's see. Number 1.
I'm on board with Bryce Young. I know he's at Bama with a ton of talent around him. But he can make every throw. The size doesn't really worry me, especially with how much the NFL protects quarterbacks these days. I'm not as worried about smaller guys taking all the hits. He can move around. He has functional mobility, which is, I feel like, a must in today's NFL. And I think with guys like Pittman and Pierce that can go up and get jump balls, a guy like Young that can put the ball up to them would be a really fun combination. And then having a guy like Taylor behind him to take off some of that stress as a rookie would be great. So I think if you're the Colts, you watch the film, you like Bryce Young, you go up to 1 and get him. And I don't know what that ends up looking like because Houston could try to trade up to get him. Honestly, I think Houston's the only team you really have to beat out because I don't know if Chicago would want to fall much further than 4 because they're probably going to want to get one of Jalen Carter or Ted Williams.
Yep.
So 4 would be the furthest you could go and still get one of those 2 guys. So it is a realistic possibility. It's just a matter of the asking price. And I've heard Chicago, wanting 2 or 3 first-round picks and all this, and that doesn't really fall in line with the
that's just talking.
Trading up.
That's talk.
Like the Colts went from 3 to 6 for 3 second-round picks.
Yeah.
So I think they'll give them
how
their
it
pick
is.
This year. Potentially a 2 this year and like a 2 or 1, maybe a 1 next year. A few,
1
whatever
and a 2. Yeah, I can see that. And they fall to the 4th.
Yeah. So they still get the guy they want, and Indy gets their guy. And I said with the trade, it's probably not just picks. I could see it being they fall to 4, get a 2, maybe a 2 this year, 2 next year, plus a starter on defense.
He might take that. Yeah, I get it. I think that how teams are. It's going to cost you 3 number 1s, and then it dies down.
That's not how the real world works.
Time the combine comes, it's going to die down. All that's going to die down. All right.
I'm nervous about Ohio State quarterbacks.
I understand. I
know
get it.
It's dumb. Eventually, the law of averages says one of them is going to succeed. But right now, Justin Fields is probably the best quarterback Ohio State's ever put out.
Yeah.
And he's a Georgia quarterback.
He definitely is because he's from Georgia.
And he went to Georgia. He then transferred to Ohio State. So
he was second behind Trevor Lawrence in the high school. So best ranking in high schools in the country, it was Trevor Lawrence here in Justin Fields. Interesting fact, guys, Justin Fields is from Georgia, so might be right, Corey. Your phone system. Hey, Craig. What's up, man? All right, man. Give me your Carolina Panthers recap. Great thing is Matt Rule's not there. That's a plus. You almost won the division. But what's your recap? Who would you like as quarterback? Who do you want as coach?
I'm just gonna say that the team, I guess, did better than what I thought they were gonna do. I thought they would finish. I think I had them at 6-11, so they finished the game above what I thought. They finished second place in the division. I thought, obviously, since they don't have a quarterback in place, I thought they would just be able to lose more games and to get in the position to get a quarterback. They still can get a quarterback. They have draft picks and all that, but I'm picking ninth versus picking like sixth or something like that. It's harder to move up. It's going to be harder for them to move up when there are other teams above them that need a quarterback.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure exactly what they're going to do, but as far as the season goes, it started out bad, Baker Mayfield, and it got better. After the first 5 games, Matt Rule was 1-4. The team finally decided to get rid of him, which was great news. Steve Wilkes, he did it. For what was on the roster with trading Chris McCaffrey before the trade deadline, and basically having PJ Walker for a couple games, going back to Baker Mayfield for one or two, a few games, I think. He finished the season 6-6, which isn't horrible. For the roster that he kind of inherited, it's not like this team is, I don't know, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers where you have a bunch of talent on that roster. But so, I give him credit for having, I guess, a decent ending to the season. They won their last game, which they haven't done in years. Like the last game of the season, they haven't done that since like 2017, 2018, something like that. So
wow.
But it's it's a little bittersweet because obviously they won the game, so they moved down in the draft board, whatever. So, but getting rid of, obviously they need to find a quarterback. I don't know what's going on, obviously, with this team in their search for quarterbacks lately. It's pretty much been Cam Newton, and then ever since Cam Newton dropped off, it's just been a endless search for. It's kind of like the Commanders to me, like an endless search for a quarterback.
Colts too.
Hasn't been as long.
Yep.
Yeah. We know how you feel.
The Broncos too, Joe.
Yeah.
Except for obviously, they got Russ, but you know how that's going.
Yeah.
Versus Manning. So it's just been an endless search for and I thought they might have had the answer with Baker. I thought he was going to be a decent.
I thought so too.
Upgrade, and it turned out to not be that case. Sam Darnold played well. He had a couple of bad games. The last game of the season was horrible. They won the game, but it was just, I know they're playing the Saints, great defense and all, but it was a horrible finish. I think he finished 5 for 15. So I just thought that, I still think that they need to go out and try to do their due diligence and get a quarterback somehow, whether it's through the draft, or maybe they want to see what they have in Matt Corral. I don't know. Or maybe they want to try to, because Darnold's a free agent at this point. So
yeah,
did they see enough in Darnold for those 5 or 6 games that he played, six games that he played, to warrant him coming back? And when he come back obviously his salary is not going to be what he was expecting.
I was about to ask how much.
It's not going to be what he thought he might get coming into this season.
How much do you think he's worth?
Obviously the quarterback market is what it is, but he's going to get something. I would 20 million. He's probably going to get more than that. I mean, somewhere probably. I mean, maybe if a team's willing to pay that. But he didn't really. I mean, he ended the season okay.
Okay.
He had a couple bad games in there, like the Tampa Bay game. He had a great passing game as far as yardage and touchdowns and all that, but he had 2 or 3 turnovers in that game, which to the loss. The last game of the season wasn't a good look. I think he had like 50 yards or something like that passing, or it was terrible. So he didn't have a great ending to the season for him to be like, okay, yeah, you know what, we won the game. He ended on a high note, and he went out there and he balled and got the team to win or whatever it is. Nah, it wasn't like that. So obviously the market is what it is for quarterbacks. So you're gonna have to pay somebody. So if you can't draft one, or if you don't, whoever the new coach is, don't think Matt Corral is going to be that guy. Mm-hmm. I mean, you got to look for somebody in free agency. Sam Darnold's obviously out there. Jimmy Garoppolo, like it's not.
Yeah,
really
it's a lot. Well, you're right. It's not that much.
You don't really see a lot of big, like, okay, yeah, Tom Brady, stuff like that. But Tom Brady. I mean, like it's not.
Might trade for Derek Carr, but he's gonna want. I mean,
he might, but his contract is so expensive that I don't even. Yeah. So, it is what it is. It's just another season where you don't know who's going to be the quarterback. You don't know what's going to happen this offseason for this team. So hopefully they'll be able to. I saw a mock draft where the Bears traded up. It was a stupid draft because it was dumb. But the Bears traded back with the Colts to 4, and then the Panthers traded up to the Bears at 4, and the Bears traded back to 7. Or sorry, traded back to 9. So it was just weird. I didn't believe it because the first pick was Will Levis. So I was like, you know what, I'm done. I immediately.
I think that's gonna happen.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah. If the Colts trade up to 1 to take Will Levis, I'm out.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That was just one I saw. It was weird. I don't even remember where. I was excited because I think the Panthers took a quarterback, but
yeah,
Will Levis thing threw me off. But obviously trading away Christian McCaffrey hurt. He was one of my favorite players on the team, and having him on the squad. Obviously, he's on the bigger and better things. He's doing well. He had another 1,000-yard season for the first time in years. But I thought that the job that Foreman did in the limited time was he almost had 1,000 yards, considering the fact that he didn't start like the first 5-6 games that Christian McCaffrey was here or with the team. So 914 yards, 8 touchdowns. He's a free agent, unfortunately. So they have to figure out if they want to bring him back or roll with Chuba Hubbard next year. Mm-hmm. He had an okay season for his second season and being basically the third, turning into the second running back. So we'll see what happens there. They still need to find a receiver opposite DJ Moore. DJ Moore he could be so much better if he had a better quarterback. His numbers aren't amazing. They're not blow you off the page. Like I thought he was kind of comparable to Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin is way better than DJ Moore. Maybe it's because he just doesn't have a quarterback, but like he just needs somebody there to on the opposite side of him as well to take because I thought he had that with Robbie, but he didn't want to be there, so he's gone now.
He was balling with Curtis Samuel though, right? I thought DJ Moore was balling.
He's never really had like an amazing like blow you away type of season though. Like he's never Terry McLaurin numbers to kind of warrant his production. Like as far as touchdowns go, like he's put up yardage. He's never had 100-yard season as far as catches. He's never had. This was his highest touchdown season. I think he had 7 or 8 touchdowns. Years in the past, he's only had 4. So he hasn't really put that production with everything that's been going on. With like I said, the quarterback and the quarterback and the wide receiver opposite of him. I don't know. So they're gonna have to figure that out. The offensive line did better than I thought. It was kind of they went out and they got 2 free agents for the in the offseason. It did better than I thought. The defense was what it was. There a lot of injuries. The cornerbacks. J.C. Horn went down late, which is unfortunate because he missed the Tampa Bay game, and so that kind of that hurt, especially with C.J. Henderson back there getting burnt for 3 touchdowns in that game. So That was unfortunate. Remington missed some more games again. Shaq Thompson was like the only staple on the team. I mean, the only besides Burns. Both of those guys pretty much did what I thought they were going to do, especially Burns. And he's up for free agency next season, 2024. So
gotta sign to an extension now.
Figure that out. So I don't know, man. Like I said, I thought they did better. I mean, like I said, I had them at 6-11. They did better than I thought they were going to do. They now they got a second place schedule coming up for next season. It is what it is. They just got to figure things out with the coach and obviously the quarterback are like the two main things. And this was the same thing last year to me. I need to figure out, or even though they already had a coach,
yeah,
wasn't good enough. And they knew that 5 games in, but they need to figure out a coach and quarterback. I do like Steve Wilkes. I do like the job that he did. At least I know a lot of the players are vouching for him, and they want him to come back. So we'll see what happens there. I think they reached out to get permission to talk to Kellen Moore, which I'm not opposed to. He's young. He's got the offense in like the top 10 or close to the top 10 every year.
Yeah.
I think they were number one. Points wise, I think last year they were number one as well. This year they're in like the top 5 in points. So I like him. He's, like I said, he's young. He's really good offensive coordinator. I think, like Corey said, Ben Johnson from the Lions. I had no clue who he was until this season, and the Lions are. I mean, their offense was amazing. So I want to see what he can do, especially if he gets. I guess if he can get a quarterback there. Same thing with I'm the guy from Philly. I'm not even gonna pronounce it. I don't know how to say his name. Steve something. The job that he's done.
Yeah.
And I like Ken Dorsey as well. He used to be a quarterback coach with the Panthers.
I just read that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he used to be a quarterback.
Yeah, Cam Newton's QB coach.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was there for a little while. Then he went to, after that, he went to Buffalo. But I like Ken Dorsey. I thought he was a really good QB coach, and now he's obviously OCing up in Buffalo. So I think he'd be really good. And then Frank Wright, he played there for a year, so that's kind of like the ties that he has there. Only thing I don't like about Frank Wright, I guess, is the age, but he brings that experience, which, I mean, he's an offensive guy as well, so maybe the team needs that. But
yeah,
I just want to kind of get like a Mike McDaniels type of coach, I guess, to pair with a young quarterback if they get a young quarterback, something like that. So I don't know, man. It's just been a crazy season. The team. I don't really. I don't really have any really bad negative things to say, except for the fact of how Matt Rule just pretty much ruined the start of the season, which could have. I mean, if they didn't have him there, who knows what would have happened. So I'm glad he's gone. Hopefully I think he's back in. I think he's at Nebraska or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Nebraska hired him. Craig, let me ask you this: y'all drafted J.C. Horn, and I'm looking at the 2021 because Corey was like, I looked it up and was like, okay. Would you rather have Mac Jones or Justin Fields instead of J.C. Horn?
Yeah. At this point, yeah, because they just, like I said, they don't have the quarterback is the number one position that they need. They can, I think they can start with the quarterback and then figure out the rest of the team after that. Like they're still looking for a quarterback at this point. If they had Mac Jones or Justin Fields, I probably would prefer Justin Fields. I think he's, as long as he just has to stay healthy and all those hits like he's been taking. But I like Justin Fields. I think he would have been, and like Sam Darnold likes he can run, or he does run, and he has they have design run plays every now and then for Darnold, but and read options and stuff like that. So I think he could do the same thing. Obviously, do it better than Sam Darnold. So I would love to have. And I said this when they drafted J.C. Horn. I thought they should have went, especially with quarterbacks there. Why didn't they take a quarterback? So disappointing, but you got to move on at this point. So we'll see what happens this coming draft. I don't have a clue what they're going to do at 9 now. It's up in the air at this point. I really wish they had lost some more games if they were just not going to make the playoffs at this point. You could have put yourself in a better position to get a better pick and have multiple options right now. But I don't know, man.
Yeah, I get it. I totally understand. Mo, the Commanders. We're both Commanders fans. We're going to work on this one together, brother. What's your recap? And of course, I don't think we could draft a quarterback.
No. No. Unless you want to reach for one. But I think I said at the beginning of the year, 9 wins or more. Anything under 9 wins, I said would be a disappointment. We got 8. Two things threw me off this year. For why I'm glad. Let me say this. I'm not personally rooting for a coach to be fired. Let me say that. But reasons I'm happy Scott Turner left, and I felt like it's fair. 12 times this year. And I say in the NFL, 24 is the magic number. You score 24 points or you hold a team to 24 points or less, you should be in the ball game. 12 times this year, our defense held a team to 24 points or less. 12. I think 9 times this year, we scored 20 points or less. And still with 2 games left, we had it all there for us. It's just, you can't go 2 straight years finishing in the bottom half of the league in yards and points.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Right?
I was telling
too much money has been invested into the offense for that.
Yeah, I was telling my friend, right? He was like, well, I said Scott Turner is a bad offensive coordinator. It's predictable. He was like, no, he's just a bad play caller. I was like, well, isn't that the definition?
But what I'm hearing though is him and
is that the definition? I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're calling terrible plays.
But I heard him and Rivera butted heads. Scott Turner wanted to be a vertical passing game, and Rivera wanted to be a power running game.
Vertical.
So it came. Scott
Turner would play Tecmo Bowl and then come and call these plays the way.
Right. It came out they butted heads. But my honest opinion, I don't think Rivera made this call. I think the GM forced his hand, because if Rivera as a head coach made this call, he should have been gone a long time ago. He should have been gone during the season, to me. I think Rivera did not make this call on his own. I think the GM or somebody forced his hand and said, Rivera, he got to go. Like, if you're going to stay, because me and you've had this conversation, James, million times. If Rivera was going to stay, and I said this, I said, all right, if Rivera stays, I'm not enthusiastic about it. I'm cool about it. Yeah. But he can't go in the season with the same coordinators.
You said that. But Jack Del Rio proved himself. Yeah.
All right, I Jack Del Rio cool. All right, I can understand
Scott
that.
Turner,
but somebody had to go. There's no way all 3 of them came back into next season. That wasn't going to work. Somebody had to eat this loss or eat this situation.
Next season's crazy.
So, ideally, I would love to have Sean Payton or Eric Bieniemy, but I'm cool with with Rivera being there. I'm interested to see who will get hired as offensive coordinator. It needs to be somebody who's going to utilize the talent. I get Rivera wants a power run game, but you also have to be able to utilize the talent that's around you or that's there. You still have to get. Yeah, you still got to get Samuels the ball. You still need to get McLaurin the ball. You still need to be able to get Dobson the ball. You know what I'm saying? You still need to give Brian Robinson his carries. I don't think Gibson coming back. I don't think Gibson's coming back. That's just me. He might come back now. Scott Turner's gone, but you would need to find a coach that can utilize that talent, that could move Gibson around and give him the ball. You know what I'm saying?
Mo, let me ask you this. As far as a quarterback, would you go out and get a veteran quarterback like Derek Carr or Jimmy Garoppolo, or would you stick with Howell?
let me say this. The two that I would want, and I know some people will say no, Mo, but if it was me with the right offensive coordinator,
Yeah.
I would want either Geno or Derek Carr. If we can't get Geno or Derek Carr, I say you bring back Heineke, and you got Howell, and you let the chips fall where it may. You let them battle, and you let it go where it's gonna go.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's me. But them are the two I would want. I know other people got other choices, but those are two that I would want depending on the right offense coordinator.
Yeah, my friend Matt loves Sam Howell. And I said, listen, here's the thing with Sam Howell. If you're ready to win now, we have a good roster. I was like, either you go all in on Howell. Now, here's the thing if you go all in on Howell. If he's not good, you get a top 10 pick next year in a quarterback-rich draft. Or if he's good, either you have 8 wins or you go to the playoffs. But I was like, if you get a veteran quarterback like a Geno Smith or a Derek Carr, we're probably going to be in a better position of going to the playoffs. I was like, you got to understand that. It's 2 caveats. Because if you bet on Howell and Howell's not good, then everybody's losing their job. But it's going to be hard.
I wouldn't say draft quarterback though. I wouldn't say draft wise. I'm just going to speak on the first round. I'm not going to speak overall. We'll get to that probably later on down the road.
Yeah.
But first round, I definitely would say corner, inside linebacker, or interior offensive line, whether it be guard, probably guard. We don't, I would say those are the 3 main needs right now, like corner, inside linebacker, and guard. I think are the 3 major needs right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a similar recap to what you had, man. I don't know, man. Before the season, I picked them to go the same record. But I think they had my hopes up, man. They had me. Craig, they had me. I'm not going to lie. I was happy for a second. I was like, we're going to the playoffs. I was talking big trash. I was like, we're going to the playoffs. And it just all fell apart. I agree. I don't know about starting Howell. It depends, man. We're going to get a new owner. And, everybody's like, oh, fire Ron. I'm like, well, new owners typically don't do that because we don't even know when the sale of the team is going to happen. If Snyder's going to sell a portion of it. I think they're going to force him to sell. But, we don't know yet. Right? So I think he's going to sell. But the sale probably just not going to happen until March or April. By the time then, the draft has already started. The new owner's in the building, and he's going to evaluate what they want. Now, most times what new owners do is they're going to do what Dave Tepper did with the Waltons is if Ron Rivera is not doing good, he's going to be fired midseason. But the caveat to that is if he gets Derek Carr and Geno Smith like Mo wants, and we're trending toward the playoffs, then the new owner is kind of forced to. Even though he's not his guy, he's kind of forced to keep Ron Rivera around. So, I'm telling all the fans, like, we're in a pretty interesting situation because it depends on the sale of the team. It's speculation that the name might change. I mean, this is ridiculous, guys. We're named the Commanders, and our mascot is a pig. A pig named Teddy. Listen, I don't have nothing against him.
But isn't it a general?
Yeah. It just looks crazy. And did y'all know right before that happened, the Hogs were suing the Commanders? This is bad,
Really?
man. Yeah, they had a lawsuit against them. So I it just looks bad on the league. I don't know what the new owner's gonna do. I don't think the NFL would allow them to change the name. I don't think the NFL rocks like that because it's a brand, so I don't know if it's up to the owner or the NFL says, "Hey, you can change your name again." That's kind of crazy because that's 1, 2, 3 years of different names. So, as OC, hopefully we get a good OC in there. Scott Turner, as I said, feel like he played Tecmo Bowl and then called plays. It was so predictable. So it's going to be interesting all season. What we're doing again is what we did last year. We're going to call all 31 teams and look at the status of their quarterbacks. So get ready for that news. So I don't know who's going to come here, but if they're doing that again, that means that anything's on the table. I'm hearing a lot of Derek Carr. He has ties to Jaco Del Rio. The team is set up to win defense. Him and Ron Rivera are going to want the same thing, a defense and a running game. And he has Terry McLaurin, Dotson, and Curtis Samuel. If we get Derek Carr, it'll be an interesting situation. Or Jimmy G, but Jimmy G's hurt. So I don't, it depends, man. It depends on the owner.
I don't know if y'all, I don't know. Hey, just quick break it. I don't know if y'all knew this already, but the Jets parted ways with their OC too.
Oh, the floor?
Yeah. Jets parted ways with him. It was like they breaking it as a mutual agreement. Like they allowed him to start looking for other opportunities, and so they kind of made it seem like a mutual thing. But we got that go.
Down the stretch. All 6 in a row because of the offense. The defense was good.
Yeah.
I mean, it was also the quarterback play, though.
Yeah, terrible. And the O line just.
Somebody's probably gonna.
Oh, he definitely will get picked up.
I mean, but there's no way you should be 7-4 and then lose 6 in a row to go 7-10.
That's fair.
You got to win 2 more games and you can probably get in.
Well, you're talking to somebody's team that did it.
Yeah.
We were great. It's bad. Our playoff destiny was in our own hands, though.
The Jets are in the same boat as the Titans. Those 2 teams finished.
Yeah, but they clear house. You see what he did?
Division on lock easily.
Yeah. So James, you're right though. What you told me was right though. The head coach and owner is hand in hand. So he told him you gotta fire somebody though. If I'm gonna back you up, you can't keep everybody like this. Nah.
Yeah, so I get it. Damn, I wonder. Michael Floor, that's very interesting. Him I get picked up. He's young
too. I mean, he's young too. In the right situation, I think somebody will hire him as an office coordinator. I think he'll be an office coordinator next year.
He's young. He'll probably have to be an assistant next year, but he'll get another crack at it.
Yeah, he'll probably be a QB coach or an assistant. All right. Anyway, the playoffs have started. I love it. It's wild card weekend. We'll talk about the who you got later. Some games we're gonna love and some games we're not. It's gonna be some interesting picks. But I'm gonna start off with Craig on this one. The NFL made a specific rule change, right? Some people disagree with it. Some people are okay with it. If the Bills play the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, it'll be at a neutral site. Craig, do you agree with that? Do you think the NFL got it right?
I don't have a problem with it, but I mean, they do have a rule in place, so why not just follow what you already have in place?
That's what everybody says.
I don't understand. I mean, I don't understand the point of changing it when it's already a rule. If you don't want to have that rule, then just take it out.
That's what everybody's saying.
It's kind of already there. I just don't understand the point of it. It's unfortunate that the game didn't play all the way through. It's just an unfortunate circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you have to just keep. I mean, if you weren't going to make the game up, you had the opportunity to make the game up if you really wanted to. But obviously, That was going to be a bad look. Nobody wants to do that. So it is what it is. So at this point, I think the Chiefs should have the home field. Like I don't really have that big of a problem with it. Like I'm not raising. I mean, I'm obviously not a Bills or a Chiefs fan, so I'm not out here just throwing stuff around crazy. But if it was the Panthers, to me, I probably would kind of feel the same way. I would be a little bit upset, a little bit hurt because they earned technically they are the number one seed. I'm not saying they earned it because who knows what would have happened. The Bills would have won the game. Then obviously they would have been the number. So I'm not crazy about it, but I mean, you have a rule already in place. Why not just follow the rule? Or it's kind of I don't know. It seems kind of weird to me. I think after this year, they might have. I would assume they would have to go back and just rewrite the rule, or just take it out in general, or just change it to how it is happened for this season. You just do a neutral site and roll from there. But it just wasn't. It just wasn't smart. It just wasn't a good look to me. Like it seems kind of stupid. I know it hasn't happened in since like the 30s or something like that. I don't know. So maybe they just never thought that this would ever happen again. But I mean, with COVID, you should have known it's possible because, and at that point, to me, at that point is when they should have probably looked into it and changed the rule because of COVID and how teams could have missed games or whatever, and then roll from there. But they didn't even do that. So. I just think they should just have it in Kansas City, like because they're the number one seed at this point. To no fault of Buffalo's own, I mean, but the rule is what the rule is, I guess.
That's what a lot of people were saying. Like a lot of people were saying, "Why change it?" I didn't understand it. I understand it, but I didn't get it. Mo, what do you think about the neutral site change? Do you think it's?
I mean, you pretty much called Kansas City the number one seed, but you still wanted to be fair to Buffalo. So this is your only way of doing it because Buffalo had the head-to-head. Buffalo beat them. So I think it's fair that if it is that, at least make it a neutral site because then Buffalo looks at it like, well, why we gotta go to them? We beat them, and then you don't know what could have happened with that game, and we could have been number one seed. So I get it, but like I said, change the rule then or fix it. But I understand the position they were in, just like with the Cincinnati thing. Cincinnati was upset that it was going to be a possible coin flip, but I would tell Cincinnati, if you look at it, they gave you the NFC North. If Baltimore had beat you, they'd have swept you. So what leg would you have to stand on? You got beat on the field twice. So go out and win the game like they did, and then you move on. But I don't have a problem with the neutral site if it ends up being Buffalo. If it ends up being Buffalo and Kansas City, I don't have a problem with the neutral site. So let me get this straight. That only happens if it's Buffalo and Kansas City. So if it's Kansas City and Cincinnati, it's in Kansas City. It's not neutral site.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, cool. That's gonna be interesting. Which I mean, we'll get to that later. But I already know it's gonna be a Buffalo. It's gonna be a Buffalo Cincinnati divisional, but we'll get that later. That's gonna happen. Yeah, that's what happened. I'm sorry. No. We're getting scored later. That's gonna be two pure ribbons. It's gonna be ugly over at halftime. It's gonna be over at halftime.
Those are gonna be quick. Those are gonna be quick.
They're gonna be quick. Quick picks. We can go ahead. We might as well go ahead and do them first and just get over it. Go ahead, mercy.
All right.
Corey. Lamar not playing, and the rookie gonna start from Miami. Yeah, okay. All right. Don't worry about it.
Hey, Corey. What do you think, man? Is it okay at a neutral site?
No, it makes no sense. For a league that enforces all kinds of stupid rules down to like the type of socks somebody wears, like bending over backwards to have an emergency session to change the rules that you already had in place, just it makes no sense. Like why? like, sure, you would have had some people upset because the game didn't get finished and it could have impacted seeding, but like, you're not going to please everyone. So why do I try? Like, nobody asked for this that I saw.
Nobody did. Nobody asked for it.
The only thing I can possibly think of is that if the league is potentially wanting to try to have this set up to test out neutral site conference championship games as another revenue source. But the flip side to that would be the owners are probably going to push back, losing out on their revenue for hosting a conference championship game. So I don't know that would go anywhere anyways. So yeah, it's dumb. It's caused the fuss for no reason. And the NFL should just get out of its own way.
Yeah. A lot of people don't understand why they changed it, because they put those rules in place because of COVID. And everybody's saying, like, you go by with the rule that you have and say. Mike Florio was huge on it. I was listening to Mike Florio and Peter King, which is good for me, but some people will be like, oh, they're boring. But it's a lot of NFL information that goes along with that. They're both have been around the NFL for a long time. So Mike Florio is saying, don't change the rule. KC is playing a home game. Peter King is saying that, he's like, well, Mike, if you're Buffalo, you could have beat Cincinnati and then you could have had home field. So, and Mike Florio was like, I understand that, but the rule is the rule. He was just like hard bet on saying the rule is the rule. Now here's what the NFL has done. Now you leave the door open for stuff to get changed again. Because you're going against what you originally said. All right, I'm going to start off with this one. The Commanders beat the Cowboys, which was a crazy game because I thought the Cowboys were going to beat the Commanders. Will this affect the Cowboys playing against the Buccaneers? I'm going to give my prediction on the game and who you got. I think it's going to be a very good game. It's on Monday night. Playoff. It's probably going to be one of the highest rated playoff games. Tom Brady versus the Cowboys. This is going to be very interesting because teams that slide at the end of the season, when teams don't do good at the end of the season, they tend to not do good in the playoffs. So their last 4 games, they are 2-2. So I don't know how to judge the Cowboys because I don't want to call it a concern. It just rose my eyebrow a little bit because we all know this. When you get ready for the playoffs, at the end of the season, if you don't look strong or don't go like 3-1, and you go 2-2, and you lose some games you should have won, and then the last game of the season you look lost, most times that team doesn't play good in the first game. So it's going to be very interesting when they're going against Tom Brady. And the legend of Brady once again rears his head, right? So, and then the Bucks beat Carolina on a strong note, So I think it just raised my eyebrow a little bit. I'm still contemplating about who's going to win the game because I've been going back and forth all week, and the Cowboys don't play the Bucks good. They match up very well with the Bucks, but the Cowboys are one of the teams that play up to their potential and then they don't. And the scary thing is when you do that in the playoffs, you lose. Because it doesn't matter if a team is good or bad in the playoffs. Everybody's 0-0. it's like what Jordan said. He's like, man, let's talk trash when the scoreboard is 0-0. Okay? So that's what it is in the playoffs. So I don't like their last game against the Commanders. I thought it was ridiculous. And maybe they were looking forward to the Buccaneers. I don't know why would they. So it's concerning for me. It's just an eyebrow raise. I'm not going to condemn them. Say, you know what? Some people have been condemning them. I'm not ready to do that yet. All right, Craig. Commanders beat the Cowboys. Do you think it's concerning for the Cowboys playing Tom Brady?
It's a concern regardless because they're the Cowboys. They don't well in postseason. Like they haven't done well in postseason. So I don't know why anybody would think just because. I mean, they won the division last year and lost in the first game. Like it's pretty much what the Cowboys. This is what they do. This is what they do. So to have any other expectation until they prove otherwise, if they have any other expectation for them in the playoffs, is just crazy to me. It doesn't matter if they won the game against the Commanders or if they lost like they did against the Commanders. They haven't done anything in the playoffs, and they have 3 playoff wins since 1998. So obviously they haven't been in the playoffs that many in all those years. But I mean, 3 since 98 is just crazy to me. So
yeah,
to think that they're not capable of losing this game, and it's a road game anyway. So I mean, I don't know what to even say about it. Like they haven't won a road playoff game since
90 what?
92.
Yeah,
I mean, it's been a long time since they even won a road playoff game. So and they're on the road here. Now they had the talent, they have everything in place. They have a really good defense. Not a really good defense. They have a defense that takes the ball away, leads the league in takeaways. They can get after the quarterback. I think they finished second and third in sacks as far as team sacks. They have 2 good running backs when healthy. I mean, they can go back and forth between the two. They only have 1 wide receiver, but the other wide receivers are comparable, I guess. And they have Dak Prescott, a veteran quarterback. The problem is that it just doesn't work all the time. Like the last 8 games, or excuse me, the last like 6 games, ever since that Vikings game, they haven't looked good. I mean, even in the win against the Colts, they were barely up in that game, and then they just got turnovers, and then they kind of blew it away.
That game was crazy.
Fourth. But I mean, other than that, like you got to look at the Jaguars game that they lost. They lost, or they barely beat the Texans. They needed a 98-yard play or 98-yard drive to end the game. Choked that game. They beat the Eagles with a backup. They beat the Texans, or excuse me, they beat the Titans with a backup. They beat the Commanders. They lost to the Commanders with a backup.
Yep.
And, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just not convinced that this team is. And I think midway through the season, I was like, okay, I think they can do something. I don't know why I even thought that, because I should have known that this is the Cowboys. Like, this is what they do. So Dak Prescott's out here throwing picks every game. Another pick 6 against the Commanders. And
he can't do that against Tampa.
A lot of people say this team didn't have nothing to play. They didn't have nothing to play for in that game, and you didn't know it. Maybe they did. Maybe they had insider information that the Giants were not playing.
It was close. Oh well, they weren't playing their starters.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe they had inside information that the Giants weren't playing the starters, but so maybe they didn't take the game serious. But the problem is, you played your starters.
Thank you. There you go.
Starters out the second quarter and been like, you know what, we're going to concede.
There you go.
And the Eagles almost lost that game. So, if you're going to concede or whatever it is, but I mean, to have your starters out there the whole game and to have Dak Prescott play like that, and that offense look like that, and that defense look like that, you're going up against a third string quarterback who's making his first start ever, and he goes out there and he outplays a veteran. People say is a top 10, top 12 quarterback. So, I mean, if that happened, then I can only imagine what Tom Brady might do, especially if Tom Brady plays like he did a couple of games ago when they played the Panthers. So I don't have any faith in the Cowboys. Like I said, they haven't won a road playoff game in 30 years.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is what the Cowboys do, man. To get people's hopes up. They look all good before the season starts. They look good in the middle of the season, and then playoffs come and then it just comes
You
back.
know who that is. You already know who that is, Craig.
Who?
That's Jerry Jones, baby.
I mean, that's what he does.
He pushes that joint. They be on every TV channel. Cowboys Super Bowl favorite. Michael Irvin be doing that every year.
When they lost, I think, to the Jaguars, and he said, I think it was the Jaguars, and he said Dak Prescott played outstanding or something. I'm like, man, we're clearly not watching the same game. Play outstanding.
Do a pick six.
He had a pick six. I mean, the last one.
The pick six was not on Dak.
It wasn't his fault. I'm saying
he hit his receiver in the chest. I mean, what more do you want Prescott to do there?
He not past the Brown.
He didn't. He had a pick in that earlier in the game. He didn't play well. He missed some throws. So I mean, it's just what this team has done. So I'm not really putting any stock into this team going to the Super Bowl or anything like that. They win this first game, and then they got to play Philly or they got to play, depending on what happens in the other game.
I got a simulator. Let's see if they win.
They'll be the lowest seed. I mean, technically, I guess they.
It depends. It depends on who wins the Vikings.
Yeah, the Giants could.
Yeah, if they'll be at San Fran if the Giants win, and then if the Vikings win, they'll be at the Eagles.
Either way, they'll be on the road again. They're not going to be favored in that game. So I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa won. So Cowboys are just not good in the playoffs.
Side note, I was with a Colts fan, Mo's brother, and we were watching the game, and he was pissed in the fourth quarter. He was pissed. He was pissed. Mo, Cowboys lose the Commanders. Do you think this affects the Cowboys' chances against the Buccaneers?
I don't. But I will say two things. Dak can't turn the ball over. The pass rush has to be there, or they're going home. Because they're not going to run the ball. They're not going to run the ball down Tampa's throat with Villa, and that's not going to happen. Also, I think Brady's going to make this personal. I honestly, if Brady loses, I can see him retiring. If Brady loses first round at home, I would just kind of be shocked and disappointed if he goes somewhere else. Like, that's just me. But that's in over there. But Dallas, we've seen this with Dallas before, though. We've seen this Dallas lose, disappointing game. Then all of a sudden they blow somebody out. I think this is going to be a true thing because Dallas. I don't think Dallas is going to let Mike Evans beat him by himself. They're going to have to throw the ball to other people. They're going to have to run the ball. I don't think they're going to sit there and let you throw to Mike Evans for 200 yards or something like that. I don't think Dallas is going to allow that. So they're going to get a pass rush. And the only reason I'm saying I don't think it's not going to affect Dallas is because Tampa's so inconsistent. Like, you don't know what Tampa you're going to get. You don't know what Tampa you're going to get. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking for what Tampa I'm going to get. If I get Tom Brady over the last couple of weeks, Dallas might be in trouble. If we get Dak, if we get the consistent Dak being the scene, Dallas in trouble. And when I say in trouble, they going home. So he cannot turn the ball over like he's been doing. That was, to me, just to say something right quick, I like their O coordinator. But to me, that pick that Dallas had was arrogance. Either it was arrogance or that just plain out stupid. You threw the same route to the same person to the same side of the field, back-to-back plays. The first play was a drop pick. He fell to the ground, Fuller should have picked 60. You gonna go back to that play? Come on. That's either arrogance or the quarterback was stupid. That wasn't the read. But that was just, to me, that was just like, wow. Like, are you serious right now? Like, what are we doing? Like, I felt like that was a youth league mistake. Like, well, how do we do that? Like, how do we go to the same side of the field, to the same corner, same route, and think he's not gonna pick that off again?
Right, yeah, like this.
Like, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
But so I don't think I fully see Dallas playing, and I'm gonna go a step further. Dallas play is going to be a clear indication of how they feel about their coach because he's on the hot seat. So if Dallas comes out lackadaisical and fluke, they don't want their coach to be there no more. Because trust and believe, if they lose, he's gone. Let's make that very clear.
Jerry said he likes him.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's a PR move. Jerry said that because the
Jerry don't be finding coaches like that though.
Yeah, okay. If
he had Jason Garrett for a minute, man. He had Jason Garrett.
That was 8-8. That was different. That was 8-8. But I just don't see. I just don't see McCartney back if they lose. I just don't see it. I mean, I just don't see it. Man.
We'll see. They went 12-5 back to back. That's a hard.
Not if you lose first round. If he get the divisional, I can see him being back possibly. But if they lose first round twice back to back years, I don't see him being back. I don't see it.
Okay. Corey. Commanders beat the Cowboys. I was shocked. Not gonna lie. I was shocked. Do you think the Cowboys affect the Cowboys' playoff chances against the Bucks?
I mean, I don't know that the one game against the Commanders means as much as the essentially stumbling into the playoffs.
Okay.
Anytime a team struggles down the stretch, it kind of, just stumbles their way into the playoffs. It's usually a recipe for getting bounced pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with the NFL and the length of the season and the number of games, it's not all that off. I don't want to say that, but there's plenty of times where the NFL team that was the best team throughout the season doesn't end up Super Bowl champion.
Yeah.
It's all about who's playing well at the right time of the season. And Dallas is not playing well right now. I'm not going to fault Dak for the pick six in the Washington game there because he's not the one that called that same route back-to-back plays. I think there's coaching issues there. I have been long vocal of my lack of care for Mike McCarthy.
Oh yeah.
I don't know that they get much of a competitive advantage with him as their head coach. There's a good chance they lose Dan Quinn as DC this offseason. And definitely if you lose to a Tampa Bay team that absolutely backed their way into the playoffs and probably have no business being there, McCarthy should be gone, and it's earned. So the pressure is definitely on. You have to beat a Tampa Bay team that was lucky to be over 500. Honestly, they should probably win the first couple games because if they end up getting Philadelphia round 2, you have an Eagles team that looked kind of rusty with a quarterback that hadn't played in a while that now gets an extra week off after getting some action. The stage is set for Dallas to make a run to the NFC Championship game. Mm-hmm. They fall short of that, there absolutely should be consequences. Now, whether or not there actually are with Jerry Jones, who the hell knows?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I'm just saying it's a thing to look at. It's a thing to look. It's a little, it's concerning, but we're gonna see with who you got. Yeah, we're gonna see who people pick. So all right, Craig, this is your man, man.